Hello, welcome back to my channel. How is it already the end of February? This month has been so hectic, but so fun at the same time. I've read some exciting books that I have to talk about. Some very beautiful, God, it's so beautiful, so thick. I'm gonna tell you my thoughts on this. This is literally the last book I read though, so it's gonna take a second before we get to this, but this was a month of lukewarm books, and that's okay. I, for the most part, enjoyed them. They were very middle of the road. Nothing fantastic 5 stars, but nothing like so horrible that it makes me angry bad. So let's just get straight into it. The first book that I read was City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Oh my god, I understand the hype. This is the first book in the Shadowhunters universe. I've read another trilogy, the Infernal Devices trilogy, which is supposedly the really good one, and it is really good, and it's a little bit better than this one, but I started it 15 years late, but oh my god, I had so much fun. So we are following Clary. She has red hair. If I read this in middle school, I used to be obsessed with red hair. That's why Ginny Weasley was my favorite character in Harry Potter, because she had red hair. The love interest, Jace, I loved him. He is like the perfect combo of like sarcastic and funny, and then also sweet and deep. My issue with this book was that I wanted to understand the characters a little bit better before all of this action took place, because this book was a lot of like fake characters moving around and doing action scenes, and I wanted to get to know these characters a little bit more intimately. And Jace's parabatai, so it's like his best friend, he's like a bonded best friend, Alec. They didn't really feel like best friends. They didn't really feel like they knew each other that well, or that they really cared about one another. So yeah, I just would have liked stronger characters and character bonds, but I had so much fun. So obviously I had to read the second book. This book fell into the trap of second book syndrome. Like, it felt like we started off, right? Then there was an action sequence that happened, and by the end of the action sequence, we were in the same position that we started in. So it's like, you did all this for nothing, or like for maybe one small piece of information, but it didn't feel like we moved forward. Even like, there was an epic battle that took place, and at the end of the battle, nothing new was really gained. Also, I knew the spoiler for this about Jace and Clary's relationship, so I was less weirded out by it the whole time. So that didn't really bother me until it was dragged into the third book. We were still going with that weird, creepy thing. And so I finished the trilogy, and the third book, that was very anticlimactic. Like, the battle in the second book was more epic and longer than the big battle that we were waiting for in the third book. This battle was 10 minutes. I kid you not, 10 minutes. And our main characters were not really even in the battle in the third book. Yeah, so I gave the first book 4 stars, and then the second and third 3 stars. Like, they were okay, but I got kind of bored in both of them. I was then very in the mood for like a medieval fantasy vibe where they're riding horses and the dresses and all that. So I found this Beauty and the Beast retelling by Draven. What I really like about the main characters in this book, and her other book as well, is that they're not conventionally attractive, or they're not attractive at first to one another until like they get to know each other as people, and then they're attracted to the other person. I love that so much. A lot of people on Goodreads really didn't like the heroine of this book. They said that she's very harsh and very mean. She reminded me actually a lot of Jasmine from Look Up With Love by Mariana Zapata. That very like tough personality that it's like, it's hard to get along with, but I was okay with it. I was having fun in the book. I really didn't like the sister. Oh my god, her sister made my blood boil. We have Lou. Lou is very statuesque, you know, not completely conventionally attractive, but whatever, very tall, like, presence. Then she has a younger sister. Her sister is beautiful. All of the men in the whole town are lusting after her. Her name is Cinia. and for no real reason besides her physical attractiveness, right? Then we have Gavin. Gavin is a young man, and he is so attracted to Cinya's beauty, and Gavin is also a very good-looking young man. And so they become a couple and a thing, and he takes Cinya back to his castle, because he and his father are cursed, and so he takes Cinya back to the castle, and then Lou is like, I love my sister and I'm gonna protect her. So then she like rides on horseback, finds this castle, and goes to rescue her sister, right? Because in her perspective, her younger sister has just been kidnapped, basically, has been taken to get married, but you know, like, you don't know his intentions. He could be just trying to ruin her and then throwing her to the side. So she's like, I have to protect my sister. So she goes to this castle, is like, I'm here, come on, sister, let's go. And the sister is like, no, you can stay if you want. And like, Gavin and the sister didn't really, I don't know, they didn't really feel like they had a proper bond. Anyways, there's Lou and the father, Gavin's father, kind of have a vibe, you know? Like, at first they're like annoyed strangers at one another, and then they like become lovers. Also, that was the thing, my thing, I didn't like how all of a sudden there was like, I don't know, like, kind of like, I think you're kind of attractive and I admire what you're doing, awkwardness, like, kind of am annoyed at you because we have different intentions, like, because the father really wanted Cinya to stay with them so that she could help break the curse. Because I think it was I don't even know how the curse worked. This book was very convoluted in terms of the magic system, so I really don't know. They broke the curse, and I was like, how did you do that? But anyways, and then like Lou gets basically attacked and almost dies, right? And then we have Gavin, who also gets attacked and almost dies. Cinya chooses to sit next to her boyfriend, like potential husband's bed for the whole night. Not the sister that has come to save her, not the sister that is in this position because of her. The audacity. I hate Cinya. Controversial opinion. But this book, okay, reviewing it, it was good. It was just, I got very bored in the second half, especially after Lou and the father like got together. It was kind of like, okay, they're doing it again, you know? So I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was good, but it's probably not something that I would recommend to someone, but it definitely fulfilled what I wanted in terms of like medieval fantasy vibes with a little magic. I was in the mood for a slow burn. And who better to turn to than Mariana Zapata. Now, I've heard through the grapevine that All Roads Lead Here is apparently better than From Lukov with Love. I read From Lukov with Love last month, loved it. I'm obsessed with it. It is my favorite enemies to lovers story to date. So I was like, okay, let's give this a shot, you know, single dad romance. And I liked it. Was it better than From Lukov with Love? Definitely not. But I really liked all of the characters in here. We are following Aurora. Now, Aurora has just had a pretty messy divorce. Like, they really didn't end on good terms, and her ex-husband was a famous singer that chose to keep their relationship completely in the dark. She's been like tugged along for 14 years, I think they were together. She's like trying to find herself again, so she's going around to different national parks and hiking, and then she finally goes back to the town that she grew up in where her mother passed away, and her mother actually passed away hiking. Aurora decides to go through and do all of her mother's old hiking trails to kind of reconnect with her past and find herself a little bit. I don't want to spoil it because I didn't know what was happening at first, and I really enjoyed like the first meeting scene and that whole dynamic. So I'm gonna let you figure that one out. Our hero, his name is Rhodes, and he is very grumpy. And we have Aurora, who is more of a sunshine, and I loved the relationship that Aurora had with Rhodes' son. They were both into music, and that's really how they connected and spent time together. And it felt very authentic and very genuine, because a lot of times in single parent romances, the other person will come in and then the child will be like, I love you, I've never loved any of my other father's past girlfriends, but I love you for some magical reason. But it felt like they really genuinely connected with one another, and there were some really good trope scenes. I love this. My issue with this though, because obviously I have to have an issue with it, I got really bored. It was a really, really boring book. There wasn't enough meat there to keep the story going. And you know Mariana's Zapata, it's long. Like, these are long dang books, and she just was going, and they were hiking, and I was like, ugh, there just wasn't enough purpose or an end goal to keep me wanting to read more. By this point, I was starting to get into a little bit of a reading slump. The way to break out of a reading slump is historical romance. Boom. So I read The Making of a Highlander by Elisa Braden. I loved this heroine. Oh my god. We are following Annie. Annie is like Merida Brave vibes. We're in the Scottish Highlands. I really liked her. I didn't like anything else that happened in the story. Like, there's a synopsis that you can read online, and that is what's happening for a little piece of it, and then it kind of goes off the rails and goes in all these random directions. I don't know. I didn't really like the story of it. I also didn't like the hero, John Huxley. He just wasn't that interesting of a hero. He was just like kind of vaguely mad all the time, and I didn't really get why. So yes, I gave 3 stars for Annie, and Annie alone. I would be willing to check out more books by this author because I really liked the heroine. She was so funny. Like, I was listening to her perspective and giggling out loud. And I loved her relationship with her brothers and her father, and that whole dynamic. The family dynamic was really cute too. That kind of helped me get out of my reading slump, but it wasn't quite there. So it's like hockey romance. Sports romance, hockey romance, get you out of reading slump as well. So I tried Rookie Move by Sarina Bowen. Actually, I've read another book in this series, Brooklyn Air, I think it's called. That's like the 4th book, but it's also the first book in a different series. I gave that one 3 stars, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's in my library, and I've read a book in this series before. I kind of liked it, but I see potential in this author. So this one is about like this high school couple, like they're the golden couple, like popular, whatever, like they go to parties and like everyone wants to be them because they're this perfect golden couple. She gets assaulted, trigger warning for assault, and then after that, their relationship is kind of never the same, and then she ends up breaking up with him, and cold turkey, like they don't see each other for 6 years. Now, our heroine is the head of PR for a hockey team, and then her dad just became a coach of this hockey team, and now her ex-boyfriend walks in and is going to play on this hockey team, and it brings a lot of memories back. But I didn't believe that these characters loved each other. Because, okay, imagine this. You are super in love with someone. The person that you are in love with gets assaulted, right? And he was amazing after the assault. He really cared for her. He tried to do the best that he could, and it was not working for her, right? She breaks up with him. Okay, he says okay. He's like, okay, like I understand. But then you would check up on them, right? Like, you know that this person has gone through something so traumatic. If it's too difficult for that person to see you, like interact, because seeing you reminds them of this incident, you would still like want to check in with the people around them, like their friends, to make sure that they're okay if you really love this person. But he didn't. He just like moved on. He like went to college and started dating different girls. Then we get to the present, and like they're starting to see each other again and kind of low-key going on dates. She is really stringing him along. It's so much emotional tension and baggage, and it's like really hard for her probably to go through with this. Like I can't even imagine what that's like, to have all of these memories dredged up again. But instead of letting the person that you love be strung along and make them think that you're wishy-washy, why not be honest? Be like, you know what? I'm having a lot of trouble having you back in my life because it brings up a lot of negative memories and negative experiences that I've been through. So I really still want you to be in my life, but would it be okay if, maybe we had some distance? I don't know, just be really upfront and honest, because he was feeling bad and she was feeling bad. There was a lot of miscommunication, no communication, and I gave this book 3 stars. I thought it was okay. It was an enjoyable way to spend a couple days, but nothing memorable, nothing that I'm going to really think about all the time. So I have been eyeing games we play for a hot minute, but I was always kind of like, it's a spicy novella. I usually like to have a lot more emotional connection before anything physical happens. But I don't know, I just saw so many people talking about it and having so much fun reading it that I was like, okay, why not just give it a shot? It's a 3-hour audiobook. Just have fun with it. So I would like to play for you my official review.
I couldn't wait to sink into her and feel her clutch around me.
I gave it 4 stars. We now have Outmatched by Kristen Callihan. This is a fake dating sports romance kind of a thing. So our hero is a boxer, but he has retired because of some traumatic things that happened to him in the past, and he now owns a failing boxing gym that's in super deep debt because his dad mismanaged his winnings. We have Parker, who comes from a very wealthy family, and she is an engineer. She went to MIT, and she is super into sustainability. She also wears children's dresses. She dresses like she's 5 as well. She was okay. She was an okay character. The male narrator tried to do a Bostonian accent for the whole time. And it was a really, really bad Bostonian accent. And so, Boston accent, is it Bostonian or Boston? Boston accent. It was a really bad Boston accent. And it ended up making the guy sound like he was using baby words. He was like, Paco, Wado. Definitely don't go for the audiobook on this one, but it was fun. Parker's work is very strange in that they want the people who are there to be in committed relationships to demonstrate that they're committed enough to stay with the firm. So she needs a fake boyfriend, and so she goes online and finds one, but it ends up being Reese's little brother, and Reese is so upset because Reese has sacrificed a lot to help put his little brother through school, and he wants his little brother to get a real job, not, being a fake boyfriend for this random rich girl. So, they talk it through really quickly as the people that she needs to impress are walking in. And he's like, okay, I'll take their place. And then they end up making a deal where she would pay him and he would be the fake boyfriend to help get him out of debt. It was not angsty enough. I don't think the fake dating went on for long enough. Middle of the road. 3-star romance. We then have the book that we've all been waiting for. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. It's such a beautiful book. And it's so dang long. And it's so boring. It is so boring. I really actually finished it. I should take out my bookmark. This is the 2nd book in the Crescent City series, and it was very boring. Bryce and Hunt were our hero and heroine from the last book, and it was really a really exciting romance to watch develop. And all of that excitement and development and chemistry was completely lost in this. They were doing stuff and I was like, just let's move on here. They were the least interesting characters. All of their sizzle and pizzazz vanished in this book. There was just no reason for them to be doing a lot of the actions. For a good chunk of it, they are trying to find this little boy because some people want this little boy because he has powers and whatever. And Bryce is there looking for this little boy because she cares about his feelings, because she wants him to be okay. I don't know, it's just a lot of effort and putting all of your most close loved ones at risk of death for a little boy because you think he's scared. You don't know where he is, you don't know anything about him, you have no close connection to him. It just was a very flimsy premise. And then spoiler, okay? Everyone was talking about how amazing and epic the ending was. It was not epic. It was so bizarre. There's like this weird crossover episode where like Rhysand is there and you're like, Bryce teleports to see Rhysand and you're like, why are ACOTAR characters here? Like, stop. No. Why are these series meshing? Because now I'm gonna feel like I have to read the whole ACOTAR series and I'm not going to do that. This is not worth reading ACOTAR. So I gave it 3 stars, but the more I think about it, the more I'm leaning towards 2 stars. Yikes. That's a big fall. I gave Crescent City 5 stars. I loved that book. I read it 2 months after it was released, and I didn't realize that, and I was like, okay, I'm ready for the next book. Like, that was amazing. That was so good. I'm so on the edge of my seat. And then I waited 2 years for this to come out. Started it on release day, read 805 pages. Biggest letdown. That's okay. The book I'm actually reading right now is really good and really fun, so I was kind of in a reading slump, but now I'm officially out of it, so you will hear more about it next month. But I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!